You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 185, Creating Energy, an exploration of ways to show up your best. If you're a business owner who wants to improve your time management and elevate your productivity so you can maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. Before we jump in to talk about creating energy in your business, in your life, in your day, and in your body, I want to share something special with you. I have created a free masterclass called Full Speed Ahead, How to Achieve Any Goal You Set. Look, I know it's early in January, and I assume you're probably pretty optimistic with what it is you are going to create and achieve in 2021. I am right there with you. But if you have ever rewritten your goals, negotiated down your goals, or quite frankly, you know to write your goals, you know to set the goals, but you're not completely clear about how that actually looks to execute on those goals, to make those goals a reality. I truly believe that goal setting has been talked about so often. In fact, I've talked about it many times here on Productivity Straight Talk. But what I wanted to bring to you this month is something different. I wanted to bring to you what I share with my clients about how to actually execute and achieve those goals you set. If you're new here, you may not know, but I am incredibly passionate about empowering you and inspiring you to reach those goals, those big dreams that you've set and maybe not even shared with others. I believe anything is possible, but just dreaming about it is not enough. I think it really comes down to implementation, that execution. So if you're looking for ways in which you can show up in 2021 and execute on your goals, you are not going to want to miss this free masterclass. You can join me by going to amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. Again, that's amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. This is a masterclass you are not going to want to miss. But if you're not sure if you can actually make it live, I want you to go still sign up because I am going to offer a limited time replay. I would love for you to join in real time. I want to be able to interact with you and answer your questions because we are going to have a Q&A section. But if by any chance you can't make it, don't say no to yourself. Say yes and sign up so that you can get this masterclass. And now, let's get to the straight talk. All right, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I know that I specialize in teaching small business owners about time management. I'm actually love the topic. But time management is not all that there is. In fact, I'm going to share with you that my limitation is generally not time. My limitation personally is energy. And it gets all rolled up into there's not enough time. And it can get rolled up into the belief that there's not enough time. But really, if I were to be honest and look at the root cause of any lack of resources that I experience personally and many of my clients experience, so I'm guessing you experience this too, is actually lack of energy. How many times have you had the time but didn't have the energy or the mental clarity and focus to do the work that you already knew you need to do? How many times have you been clear about what it is that needs to happen, but you just didn't feel like doing it? You know, that feeling of like not doing it or wanting to do the task or project is often rooted, not the only reason, but often rooted in lack of energy. How many times have you had a day where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any appointments. I'm going to slay the day. You have more time than you normally have to work on tasks or projects or client work, and you run out of steam, energy, long before you run out of time. My guess is that's your reality too. And I find this very fascinating because it doesn't get enough airtime, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, we don't talk about it enough. I don't think we talk about the lack of energy enough. And in my work with my clients, we talk about energy in different ways. It's about the ability to focus. It's about the ability to get up and be energized and excited for the day. Energy for me personally shows up, or lack of energy rather, shows up in many different ways and affects all areas of my life. In fact, I often joke to my family and friends that if I had an abundance of energy, I would always be my best self. Because when I lack energy or I'm tired, I immediately feel like I don't have the resources to do all the things that I dream of doing or want to do. I also get very irritable. I get very short-tempered. I get maybe a bit more annoyed than normal. All right, this is not my therapy session, but I'm sharing this with you because I think it's similar to you too. And when we think about our businesses and what we pour into our businesses and that balance that we want in our business and our personal life, I've found that it's not often that I don't have time or my clients don't have time for their family or their friends or their personal time or their downtime. It's that they give all their energy to their business and there's not enough energy at the end of the day. Like you just roll out on the couch or you're watching Netflix or whatever it is that you do, it's not with the same energy that perhaps you pour into your business during the day. And so for me, I just think if I could have an abundance of energy, I would be able to show up my best in my business, to my clients, to my team, to being a mom where I'm not short-tempered, I'm not irritable, I want to go play, I want to get on the floor, I want to do all the things even after maybe a day of work or a long week of work. I think that we need to prioritize energy. And that's what I have actually been doing for myself in my own life. And I've been doing some experiments, and I want to share those experiments with you. I want to tell you what works, what didn't work. I want to give you some ideas because what worked for me may not work for you. But I wanted to have this conversation with you so that you started thinking about how can you create more energy in your business, in your life, in your body so that you can show up your best, so that you can really do your best work, so that you can be even-tempered, that you can do the things that excite you because you're not too tired to do them. Having great energy gives you endurance for long days or long seasons in your business. And I've said this a couple times, but I would not limit the advantage of having good energy and your ability to focus. As business owners and CEOs, your ability to focus and be decisive and make decisions is incredibly important. And when you have that brain fog or you're low on energy, we start deflecting or avoiding making those decisions or moving through projects or tasks that actually require us to have a high level of focus and attention. So, now that I've shared with you all the reasons that I believe energy is important, let me share with you some things that I do. Some are things that I've done on a regular basis for some time. Some are some new things that, had smashing successful results. And I wanted to share those with you too. Actually, let me back up one more step. How do I know when I need to experiment with new ways to create energy, right? Like for me, energy has always been, when I say always, I mean like the last 5 years has been a primary focus for me. I have known that to achieve the dreams that I have, the goals that I have, to live the life, meaning being the mom and the wife and the friend that I want, energy had to be a primary focus. So the word energy is actually in huge letters on my vision board that sits right on top of my desk, so that I keep first and foremost the idea that I am responsible for creating energy. It also reminds me that while time is incredibly valuable, right? There's no question about that. It's irreplaceable. It's one of our most sacred and scarce resources because it cannot be made more of. You cannot repeat it. You cannot buy it. Time is something that I believe you should be a good steward of. But energy is too. And you'll also hear, and this might be for my longtime listeners, any new listeners, you're going to hear me say this all the time. When you make decisions about what you're going to invest your time, energy, and attention to. And I've said this for years and years. It's not just a time question, but every time you're making decisions in your business or what it is that you're going to say yes to or no to, I want you to consider, are you willing to invest your time, energy, and attention? Because these are three really important resources that I believe you can be a very good steward at, and it would serve you well with achieving your goals. All right, so my energy is not the same all the time, and I know that your energy is definitely not the same all the time. And my energy changes throughout the day. It honestly changes throughout the month because I'm a female. And it also changes from season to season. My energy in the winter is much different than my energy in the spring or even in the summer. And so I am really aware of that. And I need to know where I'm at on a normal basis based on what time of day it is or what day of the month it is or what season we're actually in. And I am responsible for what I do to adjust that energy. All right? And just like I'm responsible, you are responsible. And maybe this episode was just what you needed to hear to prioritize creating energy in 2021 so that you can show up your best. All right, now, I'm not teasing it any longer. Let me share with you some things that I have in my office to help me create energy. First of all, I change up the way that I sit, stand, bounce, or walk at my desk. All right. So before I get to those things, I have an Ikea standing desk. I've had it for about I'm going to venture to say almost 5 years. It works on a button that I push and it can go up and it can go down. And I'm going to share the link to this desk and everything else that I have links to that I'm going to share with you are going to be found in the show notes. You can get those by going to amberdelagarza.com/185, or you can click the link in the show notes. I want to make sure you get your hands on anything here that I am sharing with you that you may want to try out. So I gave you a couple options on the Ikea desk. So that's the first thing. So if my desk can go down and it can go up and it has different levels, you will find me sitting in my chair. Now, I have changed out my chair and I have a whole episode on the power of comfort in your office for productivity and focus. We will link to that episode as well in the show notes. But I have had to change out my chair to ensure that my legs don't fall asleep, that I'm not achy, that I'm most comfortable. So first and foremost, if you are sitting in an uncomfortable chair, please invest in buying a chair that will allow you to be your most comfortable self. 2, like an old lady, I've got a seat cushion. It looks like one of those seat cushions after you've had surgery. And we're going to link out to that, but it's like gel foam. It literally changed everything for me. It raises my legs so that they sit level and my legs are not falling asleep. I'm able to sit up straight with my posture so that my energy is flowing through my body and I'm breathing better. And I also have a back cushion behind me on my chair so that my posture is as good as it can be being supported. So I'm not particularly big, and I find that office chairs are usually too big for me. So I'll slouch back to try and get the support in the chair. And that's what's happening is I find myself either slouching back or slouching forward towards the monitors. So when I got this back cushion, it allows me to have the support that I need to sit straight up. All right. All of this is about creating the flow and the energy and the comfort when I'm sitting at my desk. I also have a very large yoga ball that I have in my office, and I will actually push my desk down, sit on the yoga ball, and bounce. And I'll bounce to loosen my body up, to change how I'm sitting at my desk. But inevitably, if I'm sitting and bouncing on my yoga ball, I'll get on the floor and stretch. It's not that far to roll off the ball. So for me, it's just about changing my location and how I'm sitting at the desk. Now, I can also stand at my desk, and I find that I stand at my desk anytime that I really need to create great energy. So if I find that my energy is down and I'm going to go into a virtual presentation, or I'm being interviewed on a podcast, I am almost always standing at my desk. I have found that to give me the best energy. And that was not enough. So I'm going to share with you my most recent addition to how I show up at my desk. And I bought an under the desk treadmill. And we are going to link to it. I bought it on Amazon. I am very, very happy with it. You can walk on this treadmill while you're working. Now, with all disclosure, in my head, when I bought the treadmill, I was like, didn't even think twice. Like, I thought I would just be working along, typing along, no big deal, right? No, apparently that requires a considerable amount of skill set to be able to walk and type at the same time. So I had to adjust my plans. And then what I did to make sure that I'm consistently showing up on my treadmill is that I decided that when I'm in meetings with my team, I'm going to be on my treadmill. And we'll have a whole nother episode about this, but the way that I work with my team, even though virtual, I'm very collaborative. I'm an external processor, so I really enjoy working with my team, even virtually. So in a given week, I'm probably on with my team, with 3 of them at least, the 3 that I meet with regularly, between 5 and 6 hours a week. And again, a whole nother episode on how I work with my team, but it's virtual, we're on Zoom, and I'm almost always walking when I'm with them because I'm not the one that needs to be typing. I'm the one that needs to be thinking and creating. And I have found that that works really well with me being on the treadmill. Another time that you'll find me on the treadmill is if I'm going to any kind of training or online event, or maybe I'm on a group coaching call with my coach in my business. Wherever I don't need to be the person providing the service and I don't need to be the primary person running the meeting, I'll be on my treadmill. And then to ensure, because I realized I wasn't always pulling my treadmill out because it was a new habit that I was adding in recently, I actually went to my calendar and changed how it shows up on my calendar with a different color to tell me that this is a great type of meeting to pull out the treadmill. So each week when I plan my week, I go through and I identify all the meetings that I'm in on my calendar that I could be on the treadmill, and that will trigger me to grab my treadmill, raise the desk, and then start walking. So that was really helpful in creating energy as well. I will say that another way in which I create energy for me is by keeping a clean office. I don't like a bunch of paper on my desk. I don't like clutter in my office. And again, I have an episode coming out about how our office space actually helps us be more productive or gets in the way of us being most productive. But just know that for me, I certainly know that the way that my office does affect. It's either draining me of energy or giving me energy. And then also with that being said, now that we're talking about the office, is I have been very particular about how my office is decorated and designed. And I think that I think that having things you love in your office can really inspire you and create energy. When I walk into my office, it is actually my favorite room in the entire house. And when I walk in, it is got a teal couch. Teal is my favorite color. I've got a beautiful picture on the wall. Thank you to my dear friend Vanessa who gifted it to me. I have things on the wall that inspire me. I have my favorite affirmations and quotes framed. I've really put the time and effort into creating a space that truly gives me energy when I walk into it. And I would encourage you to experiment with that too. Again, I'm just sharing with you things that I've either tried or that work for me. And I just want you to pluck out some of these items or ideas rather, and try them on for yourself, because I think you and I can both agree that energy is so important. All right, I'm going to share a few other things that I have in my office as I'm looking around. One is I actually keep an oil diffuser in my office. And the oil that I use, I change it up every once in a while, but one of the oils that I love that actually my assistant Crystal gave to me for a gift some time ago, I want to say a couple years ago, and I just keep reordering it, is a oil called Mental Focus. And so it's called a focus blend, and we're going to link out to that because I buy it on Amazon. But I love to have my diffuser with good smells going on in the office. I'm also going to link out to the diffuser that I happen to have in my office if you want to go grab yourself one. It's definitely a favorite. I do not want to underestimate natural light. So I sit technically in the dark in my office most days of the week, less in the winter because of the sun shifting behind my house instead of in front of my house where my office is at. And when at all possible, I keep the lights off in my office and the windows open so that natural light comes in. I really believe that prioritizing fresh air and sunlight and natural light gives me more energy than the fluorescent lights that I have in my office. So that is important if you are looking at where in your house you want your office to be, or if you're going to rent space, or where is your desk located in your office. For me, it is right in front of the biggest window in my office. And it also helps that it makes everything look better on Zoom and video and anything that you need the camera for, because the natural light comes in. But for me, having that natural light literally pour in on me, I see a drastic difference in the winter versus spring and summer when the sun is coming straight into my office. I actually crave it. So in the winter, I crave the sunlight so much that I find myself leaving my desk and going to the back of the house on the patio and literally just soaking in some of the sun and taking some fresh air. And that I'll do when I'm trying to create more energy. Instead of sticking it out in the office, my body's like, get some sunlight, get some fresh air, and then I come back to my office. And I seem to do that more in the winter because my office doesn't naturally have it. And in the summer in Vegas, it's like 115. So you're not really craving to go outside, but definitely in the winter. All right. I want to share with you my newest experiment that has blown my mind on how effective it is. And I don't know that I will ever stop now that I tried it. Are you ready for this? Cat naps. Okay, so I know that you're either like, what is she talking about? Or no way will that work for me. So first of all, I want to acknowledge any of you that are saying that naps would never work for you. That's okay. I'm just throwing things out there. My husband would never take a nap because he'd never go to sleep at night. For me, that is not an issue at all. But I was finding that I was waning in energy more and more. And I feel like I ignored some of the signs for a little bit too long. And I was trying to adjust and experiment with some other things to create energy. And I'm going to share those because they didn't work until I got to the cat nap. So I'm going to share with you some things I tried that didn't work for me. But one of the things I tried was taking a cat nap. Now, I wish that I had the forethought to say, oh, you're really tired, try a cat nap. That is not what happened. Here's what happened. It was like 4:00 and I was sitting on the couch after working, and my son was talking to me, like we're both on the couch, and apparently I fell asleep. I guess the TV was on, and I swear we were talking. Last thing I remember is we were talking, and I fell asleep. Exhausted, right? My son goes upstairs when he sees me fall asleep, and the dogs get excited and chase him up the stairs, and I wake up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. Wow, how long was I sleeping? And my son goes, Mom, you were sleeping for 5 minutes. I'm like, no. It feels like I was sleeping forever. I feel amazing. I got up, I cooked dinner, I cleaned up the house. I probably played a board game with my son or Uno. Those are some of our favorites. Like, I remember that night saying, what just happened? Like, I literally felt like time froze and I slept so much. So my son Eric says, no, Mom, I swear it was like 5 minutes. And I look at the clock and he's got to be right from the time that I remember seeing the time last. And my time frame just did not coincide with what my body felt of the energy that I got from this cat nap. And so I thought, that's interesting. What is that telling me? And so then I thought, well, let's do a little research. So I started doing research because my brain was literally, I needed to close the loop. Like, I needed to figure out what just happened to my body. Why did I feel so great? How did 5 minutes make all the difference? And I'll save you from the extreme research that I did, but pretty much what I found is that if you sleep 25 minutes or less, and the time varies from person to person, that it can improve your energy dramatically. It can affect your focus. It could relieve brain fog, sluggishness. It can actually help with your memory, regulate your emotions, all of these amazing things that I found. So I was like, got it. We are experimenting with this. So the following few days, I looked at my calendar and I said, well, where can I take a nap during the day? And so I extended my lunchtime from an hour to an hour and a half, 3 days a week. And on those 3 days a week, which for me is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have lunch with my son, cook lunch, spend time with him. So my lunch has always been an hour. It's in alignment with his school lunchtime because he's virtual now. So when he's at lunch and not at school, I take my lunch. And so we do lunch as a family. And so then we do all that as normal. He goes back to school, and then I go upstairs, literally get in bed, and I set my alarm for 25 minutes, and I count backwards from 20, and I take a nap, and I wake up at the 25-minute mark. Now, the energy is just crazy in the afternoon. Like, I feel amazing. And quickly, I trained my body to fall asleep, counting back from 20. And by the time I get to 10, more often than not, I'm asleep. So 10 seconds to fall asleep. Like, that took some training. But what I didn't want is to be laying there and be like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to fall asleep? So I just meditate and I focus on the numbers and I go from 20 to 1, oftentimes not making it past 10. I fall asleep. And also what I find so fascinating is I almost always wake up right before my alarm goes off at the 25-minute mark. So now I've trained myself to be able to fall asleep and wake up within the 25 minutes. Now, there is no room for hitting snooze because I generally schedule a meeting right at the 30-minute mark. So I wake up at 1:25 and then I'll have a 1:30 appointment, right? So I have 5 minutes to wake up, freshen up, head downstairs, and get back into it. This has worked crazy for me, crazy. And in 2021, my lunch hours, 3 days a week, is an hour and a half so I can cat nap. And also, I sneak in a cat nap on the weekends if I feel like it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I'll literally say, Mom's taking a nap. I'll be out in about 30 minutes. And I take a nap, and then I'm refreshed to take on the rest of the day. So that was my major experiment that actually fueled the idea of having this podcast episode topic. And I would encourage you to find something that you could be as excited about and have the results that I've had about these cat naps that I've integrated into my schedule and into my life. All right. Something else that I've done also is to create energy is to drink more water. Now, I think that that's like sound advice, period. And I get it. Like I've intellectually got it. I got it. But it seemed so hard. Like I really didn't like the taste of water. I still don't really like the taste of water. And I would always have water on my desk. I felt like I was doing the things like show up, put water on your desk, drink it throughout the day. And I still was never getting enough water. And then my husband turned me on to seltzer water, carbonated water, flavored water. And the first time I drank it, I was like, this is gross. And then he had another flavor. It was like lime. And I tried that and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I drink so much water now. And I know it has affected my energy because I'm really getting far more water than I'm supposed to be getting. And for so many years, I would never hit that benchmark of how much water my body needed. And now I drink water all day, every day. And I really think that that's contributing to better health, but also better energy. I'm going to go backwards in time about 5 years on this one. But I think it's really, really important for you to hear that I am not an advocate for this to be true for anyone else if it's not true for you. In fact, what I'm going to share with you, I want you to take as symbolic to something you can find in your own life. I am gluten-free and dairy-free for almost 5 years now. Now, my husband and son, they eat gluten and dairy, and it does not affect their body. For me, I was on a health journey because of some health issues that I was experiencing. To save you all the details, essentially, I was getting sinus infection after sinus infection after sinus infection for several years on all the medicine, all the things. I had multiple surgeries. No one could ever figure out what was causing my sinus infections. And it was incredibly debilitating. I was missing tons of work. My energy was always low. I was sick. I was on antibiotics over and over again, which is just not great for your body. I was on prednisone to help with the inflammation. And that was like the only thing that helped was this prednisone, a steroid that was helping with the inflammation. And I had done research after research. I'd gone to every allergist, specialist, ENT, you name it. I went down every path for several years trying to find what the root cause of all this sinus infections were. And I literally never found it. I never found the answer. I never found a solution. I never found a doctor that could help me. But what I did was start doing an elimination diet. And I realized that gluten, I had an intolerance to gluten. And I realized that not just is it creating inflammation in my body, specifically my sinuses, it was literally sucking all the energy. I was exhausted. In fact, this is full circle why energy has been the primary focus in the last 5 years for me is because I thought I didn't have energy because I had sinus infections and was sick. I now know that gluten was literally stealing all the energy I had. In fact, you would find that if I ate bread or gluten, I would need to nap or I would be exhausted after eating gluten. But when you eat all the foods and no one around you has a gluten intolerance and it wasn't that popular, like I had no clue. I just thought this is the way that it was. And I also realized that dairy, while it didn't have the same effects, did have negative effects on my body. So I cut gluten and dairy out, and it was a game changer. I wish that it was as simple as I read this article and it told me to do it. In fact, I Google searched something recently, and it tied gluten intolerance to sinus infections, randomly Googling this. This was just 6 weeks ago. And the article was dated in 2018. And I thought, Like I went and looked at when the article was published because I was like, this was not on Google. Like when I was doing all this research, there's no way that this information was on Google because I couldn't find it. Like, and maybe it was. So if you knew that it was, or y'all knew this, I hear you. You can DM me all the things. But I tell you, I swear I stumbled upon this. Now, this is what my point to this whole story is. If you are consistently low on energy, I would encourage you to look at your diet. Look at how the food that you eat interacts with your body and your energy. And it may not be gluten, and it may not be dairy. It could be anything for you. And what wasn't an issue for you 4 years ago, 5 years ago, can suddenly become an issue. Because I know when I look back, gluten was not an issue before my pregnancy. All of my issues happened after I gave birth to my son. And I know in my heart, no doctor will tell me this, that my body changed when I had my son. And so when you are feeling a certain way, excuse me, like I have tears in my eyes, do not normalize it. Do not let any doctor normalize it to you. Do not let your friends or family tell you you're just getting old and this is the way it is. You owe it to yourself to find out because you have dreams to achieve, you have goals, you have an impact in this world to make in your family, in your community, with your business. Do not let them normalize the way that you're feeling. If you don't feel like you're feeling great, find out why. It is worth it. I can tell you it's worth it. Taking gluten and dairy out of my life was life-changing. So I really, really want to share with you that that is your job. I don't know what other words to use. Nobody else will be your own advocate. You have to be an advocate for yourself and your health. And I would encourage you to do that. All right. I want to share a few more things. This episode is getting longer than I anticipated. Apparently, I'm incredibly passionate about creating energy. All right, so let's talk about vitamins. I am not a doctor or a nutritionist or a specialist, but I will tell you that vitamins or lack of certain vitamins can have a major impact on the way that you feel and your energy and your focus and your clarity and brain fog and all the things. So I'm going to share an example and a story of Crystal. So you guys know she's my content manager. And as we were creating this episode, she shared with me that now Crystal lived in Las Vegas with me. That's how we met. That's how she started working with me. But her and her family moved to Michigan a few years ago. And when she moved to Michigan, she was low on energy, like really not feeling well. And guess what? She got her blood work done and she was low on vitamin D, right? The winters are long and dark and she just wasn't getting enough vitamin D. So she takes one little vitamin D pill per night and she's no longer deficient and she feels so much better. One little pill. So the point of that is, as you're being an advocate for your own health, maybe you just need to do your annual checkup and get your blood work done and find out, are your levels normal? Are you deficient in anything? Because adding vitamins or changing what you eat can literally change your energy and your body. I want to loop back to sleeping. Now, I know I shared with you the cat naps, but let's share with you my princess and the pea story. I'm just joking, but that's what I call my husband and I, is we felt like we were not getting great sleep. And this also, you guys are hearing so many personal stories today. In a nutshell, to save you all the details, we have been through 5 beds in the last 2.5 years. And for us, it's been really, really important that we find the right bed that we get a great night of sleep on. And here's the irony of all of this. The only reason we're in pursuit of this perfect bed is because our son has bunk beds. He's had them for 7 years. We bought them at a mattress store in the discount section. While new, they were in the discount section at the back of the store. I think we paid $120 for each bed. His beds are amazing. Like if I am ever frustrated with not getting a good night's sleep, I will go sleep on one of the bunk beds in my son's room. These beds are magical beds. This is the joke in the house. Like, if anyone wants to get a good night's sleep, you go sleep in my son's room. And so we're like, surely we can find a king-size bed that is similar and from the same manufacturer and is the same density and all these things. And I tell you what, we have been on a mission. Our bed now is not bad, but we're still not there. And it's like this frustrating cycle. But the truth is like, we don't want to stop till we find these beds because sleep is so important. Tell me you don't feel amazing when you wake up and you're like, that was the most amazing night of sleep. Or maybe you change it up and you go to a hotel or an Airbnb, or you're traveling and you sleep in a friend or family's bed and you're like, oh my gosh, that bed is amazing. I slept so great. Well, I want that feeling every night in my own bed because the work I do, the life I live requires me to get good rest. And I'm going to encourage you the same thing. If you need to get and prioritize just the sleep you get at night so that you can wake up and have better energy, do it. Like, I know that it's a bit excessive to say that we've been through 5 beds, and while we pay with it on our personal account, I keep rationalizing it as this is an investment in my business, right? Now, my business isn't paying for the beds, so let's be clear about that. But when we're doing this, I'm like, no. Like, if we can get the bed that gets us the best night of sleep, like, this is an investment in how I show up in my business. And I truly do believe that because I do believe this all links back to energy. All right, let's see. What else did I want to talk to you about today? Oh, I'm going to talk to you really quick before we close out is one of the biggest energy thieves that I see in business. And this is lack of making a decision in your business. Like, you know, a decision needs to be made, whether that's hiring or firing or pursuing an opportunity or a project. Even if it's not a decision in your business, but a decision in your personal life can zap your energy and how you show up in business. Here's an example. We just finished out the holidays, and I feel like the theme of one of my coaching days running up to the holidays, and when I say theme, meaning I don't pick the themes of what I coach my clients on necessarily. They bring to me what their challenges are. And it's so funny how often I see similar themes. And the theme I was getting this day was that there was decisions that needed to be made around what the holiday plans were and the interaction with extended family because of COVID and all that's going on in the world. And I heard this over and over. And the delay in the inevitable decision-making and having the conversation about what your immediate family was doing and how you were interacting with extended family was zapping the energy out of my clients, meaning they couldn't focus on business decisions or showing up in their business. Like, this was weighing them down. And even though this was a personal decision that needed to be made and executed on, the same thing is true for business decisions. When you know there's a decision to be made and you're not making the decision, I have found that to be so energy depleting. And so the next time you find yourself needing to make a decision, I would encourage you to prioritize moving through making that decision as quickly as possible so that you are not drawing energy from other areas of your business and life that need you. And oftentimes, hint, hint, this has to do with firing someone, letting someone go from your team, or the inevitable, like, you need to hire, you want to hire, but you're not sure, like, what are the ramifications? Can you financially afford it? Do you have the time investment to hire? Who's going to train them? Is it a need that your business has now, or will it need it in the future? All of that can be weighing on you and slow you down for how you show up in other areas of your business. So go make the decision. All right. Before we close out, I'm going to share with you some of the things that didn't work because I don't want you to think like, oh, everything's going to work for you. It's not. We're different. You're unique. I'm unique. We are not all going to have the same solution. If it was that easy, we would all just do the thing. So the moral of this episode is more so prioritizing creating energy and being in the pursuit of experimenting with what creates energy for you. All right, so what hasn't worked for me? Juicing. Now, in all disclosure, juicing, doing like a juicing cleanse has worked for me in the past, but I tried to do it again, I believe in Q4 of 2020, and it did not work for me. It did not give me energy. It was distracting. It lowered my energy. Maybe I wasn't on the right juicing cleanse that time, but the juicing did not give me energy, which I was really baffled by because the reason I did the juicing cleanse was in fact to give me energy because in the past it did. But for whatever reason, whatever was going on in my personal life, my business life, my body, that time the energy was not created by juicing. I've also done things like change up my schedule, and that has not worked successfully for me about creating energy. I do not do well with staying up late at night and then waking up in the mornings. I do much better going to bed earlier and waking up really early. But that's my body. And so perhaps you're not purposely making a decision about when you go to bed. I would encourage you that if it's not working for you, whatever time that is, select a different time, start pushing it back or pushing it forward. I would also encourage you to look at how much sleep you get. I feel sluggish at 8 hours, even 7.5 hours. I feel like my prime time is 7 hours, right? And so what doesn't work for me is getting more sleep at night. My body wakes up and it feels sluggish and achy maybe. It just doesn't work for me to say, oh, I didn't get a nap today. I'm going to add time to my night schedule of sleep. That did not work for me. I like to break it up. And so I would experiment for you how much time you are getting of sleep at night. What also doesn't work for me is saying turn off electronics like 30 minutes or an hour before you go to bed. That has never been an issue for me. And so again, perhaps for you, it is about that wind down and, the blue lights and turning off electronics well before you actually want to fall asleep. For me, it didn't work for me. I didn't need it. It didn't change anything for how I fell asleep or how well I slept at night. And so again, I experimented with it. I didn't really see any results. All right. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode about creating energy. I'll be honest, I was excited about the topic, loved putting the content together, didn't realize how much I had to say about it until I hit record today. So I hope this has inspired you to prioritize and be the advocate for your own energy and creating it. It is your responsibility to unlock how you show up your best. And that's what we all want. We want to show up our best so that we can do our best work and make the impact that we were meant to make in this world. I have loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk, and I sure hope it was valuable for you to be challenged a bit about prioritizing creating energy in your business, life, and body. But I need to be straight with you. Knowing this, having me share with you about my own experiences and the importance of creating energy, it's not enough. You and I both know that. So while my goal is to inspire you, my goal is to inspire you to take action. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. And while I did share quite a bit today, my goal, my hope for you is that you take one nugget that resonated with you most and implement it. Take it and put it into action to help you create more energy. And once you've done that, if it worked, keep it. If it doesn't, go on to the next one. And even if it does work, add another. You may have noticed I didn't do one thing. I didn't buy one treadmill and say, yep, better energy. I didn't take one nap or add one nap to my day and say, yep, that created more energy. For me, it's about the entire process, all of the steps, all the different things that I do that allows me to create more energy, sustain my energy, and show up my best. So it is now your turn to go take action on creating energy in your business, life, and body. Before we leave, I want to remind you, if you did not already take me up on this, head on over and register for my free masterclass, Full Speed Ahead, How to Achieve Any Goal You Set. Even if you haven't set your goals for 2021, it's not too late. You can still show up and the masterclass will be incredibly valuable. Head on over to amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. Or you can click the notes section anywhere you're listening to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk, and we'll have a link there for you to easily get signed up for this masterclass. So that's my Straight Talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.